In today's video, we're going to make this from a 2D image, believe it or not. But before we get started, let's take a quick break and we'll come right back. We're going to take this 2D image here found on the internet and we're going to create the following out of it. This here is called a depth map, and essentially what it is, it's an image that goes from a range of pure white to black and all the grays in between that basically take the contours of that first image and a value is assigned to them from white to black, whereas white is the closest distance to the camera or the viewport, or the view, I should say, and black being the furthest away. And what happens is when you superimpose that in the 3D software, you can create some pretty interesting things like geometry, but it gives a perception of depth from the perspective of the camera. What we're looking at here is a page on Blender Hive Market for a plugin called TrueDepth. And essentially what this does is this allows you to take an image or video, use an AI model that runs locally on your machine, create a depth map from that, and then from the depth map, do some minor corrections if you want to, and then generate geometry for it. It looks like a plane that has displacement applied to it, but very cool. It's a bit limiting, so it's not going to create a full-blown 3D model for you, but it does create something that's very good if you're doing background elements in like a game or in a scene to give the perception of depth. So what we're going to do is we're going to crank this up. We're going to bring in our dog image and we're going to get started. So let's go ahead and get started now. Now that we're getting started in Blender, I'm going to go ahead and pull in the image that we are going to use for this video. I just went online, did an image search for some images of dog portrait, silly dog portrait, I think is the query that I use. And we're going to use this image here. I don't know whose image this is. I hope I don't get any issue with it, but hey, it was online, so we're going to use it. And what I want to do is first come in here. Let's clear our scene. Then I'm going to bring out the TrueDepth panel from the end panel, and you install it like you install every other plugin. If you notice, there's two options, GPU and CPU. I'm on a MacBook Pro. The GPU is only supported by NVIDIA RTX processors, which I have a PC. I haven't noticed a difference in timing or results. So in this case, I'm using CPU. I've got a lot of cores. So brought in the image. And I'm doing a little bit of tilt fixing here. And I'm going to click this one button here to generate my depth map. And if you click on it, you can see the depth map that it generates. I'm using the small training model. I hear the large one is better, but I've been having some issues downloading it from the GitHub repository. I don't know. I don't think it's my end. I think it's their end, but I'm sticking with the small. This is what we have. I'm going to zoom in, and now I'm going down here and I'm going to increase the subdivision. I'm going to crank it all the way up to like 5 or 6. 5 looks good enough on this image. I will say for most images I've toyed with, like 6 is like the sweet spot. Now I'm going in here and changing some parameters. I hit delete geometry, and then I'm going in and I'm selecting everything that's in the background, and the plugin seems to know what the background elements are. And I think, it's just my opinion, I think it's looking at the depth map and the stuff that's the darkest. That's what it's deleting. So now I'm bringing in a camera. Now you're going to see in the video I square it up, but eventually I go back to a 16:9 aspect ratio for 4K. I'm just kind of scaling my camera up. I mean, we've already got the that quick, we've already got the geometry. I literally hit 2 buttons and that was it. So now I'm going in here into the settings, and it looks a little gnarly, looks a little rough. It's almost too much harsh detail. So I'm going in here to some of these settings and I'm backing down some of the settings to smooth this thing out just a little bit, like you see here. Now, if you notice this change I just made, it brought a little bit of that background back in there. So what I'm going to do is go back under the delete background section and I'm pulling it out. So just move the sliders and that got it out. So now you can see what I was talking about earlier. It's just like a big displacement off of a plane or something. I'm going to shade smooth it. And I'm going to go to render mode. Now I'm in Eevee currently, and I'm going to add a light in here. And as you can see, the light is picking up the geometry of this thing, and I'm getting more realistic lighting on what appears to be a 3D image that is really nothing more than a 2D image that we displaced a mesh out of. I mean, essentially this is what's happening. There might be some more craziness going up under the hood, but that's all I could tell was happening to this. And the AI was like the magic sauce, if you will. If you're interested in how I just slap lights in there so fast, that's another plugin I use for my commercial work called Light Wrangler. I've talked about it on numerous videos and I almost can't live without it because it just makes adding lights just so fast. Alright, so what you're going to see me doing pretty much in the rest of the video is just kind of tweaking this thing. I'm pretty much done. So I will say this, not every image does this well. I found out that images that look more like portrait style images without a whole lot of background elements, something that has pretty decent lighting to begin with, those images I found do the best. You'll see I had some other images that I have played with. I'm just going to bring in a image as a plane for now of this corridor just to kind of show an example of how you can composite something together. But what I end up doing later in the video is I was like, okay, well, I don't want to do a true depth on that too, which I could have. I just chose to go in a Blender kit and I brought in an actual model of a room. I just randomly picked something. I'm not trying to like art direct this or anything. I just randomly picked something, and then you'll see that I end up going that route. This basically gave us a dog head model with 2 clicks. Is my point I'm trying to get across to everybody here. So I guess I'll explain, since I'm showing it, what I'm doing here. I'm just bringing in an empty, and I'm going to use this empty as a marker for my camera because I'm going to add a little bit of depth of field to this, to make the camera look like it took a photo of the dog and make like some fake bokeh effect here. See, it blurs out that background. And with the magic of video editing, you see I changed that background really quick and I chose to do a 3D model instead with a texture image on it. So what you're gonna see is I'm gonna kind of show you how cool this is. I figured like midway through recording this, I'd show you a better use case for this. So I'm using a real background in terms of a 3D model. I'm using the depth mapped dog as the foreground on the main subject of the image. And as you can see, I bring in a sun light and I'm just trying to add a little bit of photorealism to this image. And you'll see I'm playing with the lighting here just to kind of show you really what I'm trying to get through to you. Is I took a 2D image and I've got something that I can interact like 3D lights and stuff with, and it looks 3D. Now, like I said, it's going to be a bit limiting, so I can skew it a little bit left to right, but not much off of that main axis. It's just going to look weird. Now what I want to do is I'm bringing in my old trusty Blender kit, and I'm going to add, just to, you know, show you the effect even more. I'm going to bring in a model of a hat, and I'm just going to slap a hat on top of this dog. Just looking. And like I said, some of you guys, maybe you watch some of my videos, you get tired of like seeing me go through all of the minutia of how the sausage is made, but part of me wants to show you this to some extent, because I think it's just, it gives you more of a realistic sense of what it's like. So in other words, I brought this hat in. I'm going to go in here and select it. And I'm going to bring it up. Get it on top of the dog's head. Scale it up. All that good stuff. And then I'm going to end up parenting this hat to the dog. And the only reason why I'm doing this is just to reinforce even more. This 2D image is now, I'm treating it like a 3D object with literally 2 clicks. And I don't have to be this detailed, but you know, I'll let you guys see how detailed I try to be with some of this stuff. Just kind of straighten it up so the top of that dog's head's not eating into the rim of the hat. I'll pull it up on the local Z-axis of the hat. There we go. That should be good enough right there. And there you go. Dog's wearing a hat. Our 2D dog is now wearing our hat. How awesome is that? So real quick, what I want to do is I want to show you what's happening under the hood with the shaders here. So let me drag over a new view here and go into the shader editor. And if you look right here, this is how the plugin wires this up. Essentially, it's like 2 images that are wired up. One is a color image, or the original 2D image. I think it was a JPEG. And then that second image that adds the bump and displacement, or I should say specifically adds the displacement, not the bump, is that depth map, as you can see right there below it. And this is all done for you, so you don't have to burn 10 minutes wiring all this up yourself. Very cool plugin. Now comes the fun part, and like near the end of this video, because literally I created a video just showing you 2 clicks on how to do something, which is kind of crazy. But anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and play with the animation piece here. So what I'm doing is I'm in the timeline and I'm restricting everything to just add keyframes to the location. And I'm kind of plotting out how far along in the timeline I want this video to go. So what I really want to do is I want the camera to zoom out the background and then zoom in the background. I'm not trying to make anything super fancy. I'm just going to make some, you know, arbitrary keyframes and just show you guys how to do this. Kind of like on Jaws, where you saw when the shark gets ready to come out of water, and they show that famous scene where the guy like pops up off of his beach chair and the background kind of like zooms out as his face is zooming in. I'm gonna do something similar to that, but not exact, because like I said, the video is pretty much done, and I'm just going to show you how I did the little animation. It was like literally like a really quick and dirty thing I did. So I'm just kind of playing with keyframes here. And if you notice, what I'm doing is I'm kind of getting it to look like I want. I'm not calculating anything. I'm not measuring anything. I'm not trying to be overly scientific with it, because this is just for our little video here to have a little fun. And then I'm baking in keyframes. And now I'm going in there, and then I'm going to play with the depth of field. Kind of, really what it's going to do is it's going to emphasize that bugged out look that dog has. And I could have done like some sound effects and music and that kind of thing with it, but no need. You guys can do that on your own if you want to do something similar to this after watching this video. So we're essentially done with this video tutorial. I went ahead and sped this last piece up. If you want to follow along, just slow down the video player in YouTube and just kind of follow along. I'm just basically changing focal length of the camera and stuff like that, but pretty easy stuff in Blender. But anyway, thank you for joining this video. I'm gonna have some new ones coming up pretty soon, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.